Clemson has been the most disappointing team, but I'll be rebuilding them in this video, hopefully winning national championships like they used to. Starting 1-3 in real life, their playoff chances are slim in year one, but there's actually some really good news. I talked to quarterback Cade Klubnik before the season, so we came up with a plan I'll use as I take over Clemson. I'll be rebuilding the Tigers for 4 years in Dynasty, and I can't imagine they fire Dabo Swinney, but I will be starting fresh with myself as the Clemson head coach. My first move will be talking to quarterback Cade Klubnik on how we should construct this team.
Are we going to mainly use high school for recruiting, or are we going to go in the transfer portal a little bit more? How should I build the roster out?
I think, you hit the portal a little bit if you want. And then, I think a mixture of both would be great, honestly.
Good mixture of both.
Yeah.
See, I was originally going to go the Dabo Swinney route in this video, avoiding transfers, but now we have permission to go after both. And don't get me wrong, going after high schools is still going to be a big part of our class because, as you can see, we have 10 5-stars that are currently on our board. We've already gotten a couple 4-stars that we want to sign. With Monty Miranda, the pocket passer from South Carolina, being our #1 target. He's a 5-star gem and he has 95 throw power. When it comes to the guys that we already have on our roster though, I need to figure out who our secret superstars are.
Is there a player on the roster, young, lots of potential, that I should be keeping an eye out for?
Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore, both returning freshmen. I try to get them the ball a whole lot. Same with Antonio.
All right, so I need to be getting them the ball.
Oh yeah,
keep an eye on them for a while. Antonio's off?
Yeah,
I'll get that in mind.
So we have 3 of them. Cannot complain about that. The first one being 88 overall sophomore Bryant Wesco Jr., who still has a little bit of room to grow. Then there's TJ Moore, another young receiver who has potential to be one of the fastest players in the country. And Cade Klubnik also mentioned Antonio Williams, so basically just guys he feeds the ball to. You could say that means maybe we don't have to target going after receivers as hard as some other positions, but I still have a few on our board right now because those guys are probably going to graduate early, and Georgia's the one school that's beating us out for most of the prospects if we're going to lose any battles. As Cade Klubnik continues to help us, I think I'm ready to get into our first game. It's going to be going on the road to play against head coach Bill Belichick, but I'd love to at least get a goal for this video first.
If you could give me one challenge to complete, like winning a Heisman with someone like even yourself,
okay,
or beating a certain team, what's something I need to achieve with Clemson whenever I take them over?
I would say go in the first game. Go in the first game.
Win the first game, start off strong.
Win the second one and win the third, but you can't win them all until you win the first.
Well, there is something ironic about that, but I love Cade. He's a great dude. So our next goal is just going to be beat who's up on the schedule next. And we were just talking about that. It's time to actually face North Carolina. This night game might go pretty crazy here. I am just still truly stunned. I'm doing a Clemson rebuild at this point in the season though. Like, how did this roster start 1-3? I think I fell for the trap a lot of people did, where they're returning a lot of starters, so we thought that automatically make them get better this year. As we get on a 3rd and 3, I will be handing this ball off to Adam Randall. He does not get in. But when I was talking to Cade Klubnik, he seemed like the type of guy that would want to go for it on a 4th down, which is why we're going to roll out with him, and he puts it right on the money for a touchdown. This is the start that we needed, but there's still a lot of time left. And by the time there's just a few minutes left, we're still in the driver's seat. I think we're going to be able to win our first game, completing the goal Cade Klubnik gave us. Even if we drop that ball, all we have to do is kick this field goal to go up by 3 possessions. But I will say, we have a much bigger goal for this whole video. If we're not winning a national championship in these next 4 seasons, this is not a successful rebuild. So that's what we want to achieve, and next year we won't have Cade Klubnik. We do still have him to help us a little bit more though, as we have to figure out how we're going to develop our coach tree.
I got certain things I can focus on. I could focus on recruiting, more for the schemes for the game, maybe talent development.
Okay.
What do you think the most important thing?
I think development. Yeah, getting the players better. But then you also want to be recruiting guys. You want to you want to have guys coming in that's gonna make your team better.
That was pretty straightforward. There's no tactician for me in this video. Following Cade's advice, I'd love to unlock talent developer though. As you can see, if we can get to tier 2, tier 3, our guys are going to develop a lot quicker. He also wants us to recruit better, so what we have done is we have spent 50 points inside recruiter, mainly focusing on getting better transfer options on our offensive and defensive line. When it's possible, we will also have to spend 50 points in motivator before we can go to talent developer. Our minimum coach level required to even unlock this is going to be level 10. Right now, we're only at 6. We also need 2 first-round picks on this team to become a talent developer, but between TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Cade Klubnik, even Avian Terrell, I think we're going to get that. And I will say, it's a new concept for Clemson fans, but I think you should be pretty excited that we're going to be able to use the transfer portal better than ever ever before. Finally, I think it's time that we decide on what offensive playbook that we're going to run. It's going to be the final thing Cade Klubnik helps us with, and I normally just use FIUs.
What playbook should we use? Like, what's the playbook to go through?
Honestly, I don't know.
What do you like?
I don't play enough to know the playbooks like crazy.
Oh, you want to be air raid? Like, what do you want to do?
Come on. Air raid. Let's go air raid.
You're not going to tell me pro style or something.
We want to throw the ball. We want to be shotgun. We want to be spread out.
That's exactly what I was hoping to hear, but it does mean a lot of interceptions from me. Ultimately, I could have just stuck with Clemson's playbook since it's air raid, but that hasn't been working out for them, so I think what we're going to do is give Baylor's a chance instead. I think after all of that, I just want to thank Cade Klubnik for helping us out one more time, and I am ready to get this 4-year Clemson rebuild underway with our ultimate goal still being winning a national championship. You can see what the rest of our schedule is going to look like. You know that commits are going to start flooding in since we're at about mid-season. And I can't let you all forget about Monty Miranda, who's going to be on a visit whenever SMU comes to town, because this is the 5-star gym at QB that we really want for our future. Since we're heavily going after him, Georgia's going to beat us out for the other 5-star quarterback on our board. They also took this 5-star cornerback from us. Ohio State took a 4-star, so it's not like we're winning every single recruiting battle. But I would say most of the time, if we want to land somebody, we're probably going to get them. Next up on our schedule is the battle for the O'Rourke McFadden Trophy. I've never heard about this or the rivalry. Maybe I just live under a rock. I'm a casual. I was also born at the end of 2002, so that contributes to it as well. Either way, we're looking to start the game right, and we got bumped. I don't think Boston College is going to be the team that beats us, but what we're going to do on 4th down is roll out with Cade Klubnik, and I want to go for a hurdle to get into the end zone as he just clears the defender. It kind of set the tone for this entire game as we won 31-10. We're going to pick up Clemson's 3rd win. After that result, some of the 5-stars are going to start flooding in. But currently, it's only on the defensive side of the ball. If we want to start signing more of them, some of them are coming on a visit in Week 8 whenever we take on SMU, including Monty Miranda. It really isn't challenging at all for us to build for the future here at Clemson, though we have to make sure that we take care of business on the field. That's what's been the challenge. And I thought we might as well just bring out the purple alternate jerseys for this game. Here is the problem, though. We have to get SMU off of the field as there's only 3 minutes left, where we have just a 5-point lead. I think what we're going to do is send 6 at Kevin Jennings. He hands off the ball. It's 3rd and 9. So it's seeming like we should be able to stop the Mustangs. They ran it again. That was such an odd decision as we approached the 2-minute warning. Stadium Pulse on our side. I don't think there's anywhere for him to throw, but he has all the time in the world. Where's our pass rush? That was really disappointing. 2-point conversion time. We tried to get in some pressure, and Kevin Jennings finds a receiver. We cannot lose another home game for Clemson. The fans can't go through a 4th loss this season. At the moment, it feels like there is still a little bit of hope that we could bounce back and potentially even sneak into the playoffs. We still haven't seen a 3-loss team get in real life yet, but on this game, you all have seen it happen in numerous rebuilds. But we did just get put on a 3rd and 6 because we can't seem to catch the ball. We're going to get this one out fast. There's TJ Moore making a play, rolling out with Cade Klubnik. We're going to take a sack. He tried to do way too much there. I don't know what he was trying to playmaker. Adam Randall's at least able to turn upfield for us. So all hope is not gone yet. It looks like Haynes is going to get open underneath. He couldn't get the 1st down, though. I think we can just hand it off to him and make sure we get it. He's short. That is how we're going to pick up our 4th loss this season. SMU takes us down at Death Valley. I was way too composed and confident there. I had no sense of urgency because I thought there's no way they stop us on a 4th and 1. That was visit week as well. So the fact that Monty Miranda's still committed, it impresses me, but I don't think we're going to sign as many 5-stars as you were thinking. Another problem we have to discuss is how many players are going to want to transfer because of playing time or playing style. We have like 20 players that still want to leave Clemson. By now, we know that making the playoffs is off the table for us, but there's still a lot of games against ranked opponents like Duke that could make our program set up better for the future. So hopefully we can come out strong against the Blue Devils, who are currently sitting at number 19. This is setting up to be the worst season Clemson's had in like a decade. In fact, it might already be, but we haven't lost the locker room yet. As we look to close this one out, we have a 3-possession lead. And what this does for us is it's going to put us at 4-4. We doubled the score against a top 25 team though, so we at least made a statement. And players like 5-star Garrison Towns are going to appreciate that. Of all the original players we went after, he's basically the last one there. For whatever reason, no one's gaining points on Jamison Armstrong. You're going to see Georgia won the battle for the running back and the other quarterback, but we still came away with a lot of these wins. Maryland getting a receiver from us, That's embarrassing. And it's seeming like we're not going to get any at all, but I put a couple other 4 stars on our board, giving us a chance at some others. Then we were able to unlock the motivator tree because we can just level up super fast as we are at Clemson. There's a lot of bonuses that come our way. And what I've decided to do is I want to make sure our offensive line plays best, so they're going to start the 4th quarter hot. They're going to get some off-season training bonuses. And now we can go down the talent developer pathway. We just need to wait for 2 of our guys to get drafted in the 1st round. In order for that to happen, though, we still have to get to the end of the season. Number 4 undefeated Florida State is coming to town. And this is another one of those games that could redeem ourselves a little bit for such a poor start. Some people were already saying that this year's Clemson is last year's FSU, which does still have some truth to it, especially in real life. But in this game, it has been very easy for us to control this one as we're about to go up 21-0. The Seminoles were hoping to be able to stay undefeated, but we made sure that did not happen. And just out of curiosity, I had to see if there was any chance that we could somehow get to the ACC championship, but there's not. Since I think Clemson's won like 8 of the last 10 conference championships, Dabo Swinney went on that rant about a week ago. This is a very bad season for the Tigers, going back to 2015. They have just been so dominant. But at least we should do better than 6-7, which is the worst season that they've had since I was alive, basically. To make sure that happens, all we have to do is win 2 of our last 3 regular season games. And a win against the Cardinals would make sure that we can become bowl eligible. I'm not sure the team got the memo, though. We're currently trailing by 17 points with 6 minutes left. And I doubt Adam Randall is about to punch this run into the end zone as they're blowing it up. Luckily for us, though, there's a penalty against Louisville, so that'll help us out. And one of those young superstars, TJ Moore, that Cade Klubnik told us to get involved, is going to catch this pass and go down. What a disappointing year for this team. I think he's going to be able to just scramble into the end zone. But by the time we're getting the Cardinals off of the field, there's only 3.5 minutes left. In order to still have any bit of hope, we have to score really fast. And it looks like we're going to have Bryant Wesco Jr. deep. But we still need to be able to get a stop on defense. This is where we haven't played that well in this game. It's going to be 2nd and 14, though. We're sitting back in a cover 3, and no one's open. No one is open. I think we're about to get the Cardinals off of the field, though they just throw it over our defense. And Miller Moss basically just ended this game. Our last hope is getting them off the field on 3rd and 10, where they're throwing the rock, but we just keep on giving up firsts. So that is going to be our 5th loss this season. If it wasn't for the super easy game against an FCS team at the end of the year, we might not be able to get the 6 wins. But fortunately, that game's on our schedule, so that should make it pretty easy. It might have taken us until the 4th quarter to really pull away, but we comfortably won this game anyway. But what I will say is if we want to beat our in-state rivals, South Carolina, we are going to have to play so much better. This is going to be quite the way for us to end the season. I really hope we don't fumble, because a 6-6 reality for Clemson would be extremely sad. So far, things are going pretty well, though. We might be able to end this 1st quarter with a touchdown. This is the final play here as Adam Randall just hurdles his way in. But as time has gone on, we've not been able to close this one out as we're still trying to end it. I think this touchdown might. Fortunately for us, South Carolina's offense hasn't been the best. Lenore Sellers has just gotten them to the 10-yard line. And I highly doubt that they're going to be able to score a touchdown here, get an onside kick, and then also be able to score again. They're not even going to get a snap off. The Palmetto series goes to the Tigers. That's nice. This is a good ending to year 1. But one thing you have to keep in mind is some of our most talented players are still going to want to transfer once the year ends. Another thing I think we should do is just clear this house out. We don't want either of these coordinators, so I'm going to fire both of them. They are strategists and they had some nice bonuses, but still, after this season, we need some new coaches. There is absolutely no reason that Clemson should ever be finishing mid-table in the ACC. As for the Heisman Trophy winner, it went to John Mateer. We've gotten Boise State in our bowl game. And for some of these late-season recruiting battles, we're still letting Georgia beat us out for some prospects. We might not be able to get this receiver either. Ole Miss is just pulled away on the kid from Mississippi. But we have an opportunity to make Minnesota head coach PJ Fleck one of our coordinators, and he's exactly what we want. He's a talent developer, which is the way that Cade Klubnik told us to go. Before we can find out whether or not he's going to come to the Tigers, though, we have to play Boise State in the LA Bowl. And I think on paper, we're going to be better than basically every team we face unless we get to the playoffs the entire time. Comparing team overalls doesn't seem to mean much anyway. We lost 5 games this season. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Boise State has given us quite the scare in this game. There's a flag on the play, but it's against the Broncos, so we'll take the touchdown, setting us up to lean on our defense to close this one out. But we can't miss that tackle. You know that if we lose this matchup, the number of transfers that are available to us are going to be a lot worse. We're going to have even more players that want to transfer away from Clemson. And ultimately, it's just going to make our challenge of bringing them back to glory even more difficult. In these final 30 seconds, we got to keep Boise State out of the end zone. they're going to be able to take it inside the 15. And Maddox Madsen is dicing our defense apart at the moment. The seam's open. The seam is open. We have 15 seconds to get in field goal range. It looks like we're going to have to go underneath. It wasn't there. We're going to have to find our tight end on a deep post, which I think he could get over to, but we missed. We're going to lose to the Broncos. We're going to go 7-6, unless we can have a miracle here. Our running back just decided not to pick up the defensive tackle. Okay, we need someone fast to catch this ball. We're going to have to lateral it. Lateral. It didn't come out. Well, we can't even win the LA Bowl with Clemson. It's going to be a rough final 3 years if that's how this is going. I think our team prestige is about to fall quite a bit, but PJ Fleck has decided he'd still rather come over to the Tigers. For our defensive coordinator, though, we didn't get the guy that we wanted. He was also going to be a talent developer, so we're just going to have to go after Jim Mora, who's an architect. At least he's still going to be one of the better options that we could have landed. When it comes to our season stats, Cade Klubnik only threw for 23 touchdowns as a 92 overall. Adam Randall averaged 3.6 yards per carry behind our offensive line. TJ Moore didn't even go over 1,000 receiving yards. But that lines up with our team that had a pretty disappointing season. Florida somehow won the national championship. We know with how they're playing in real life, this would never happen. But it did inside the video game, and we're about to find out if some of our superstars, the young guys like Bryant Wesco Jr., are actually going to transfer. For Peter Woods, we need a first-round pick, so we're not going to try and convince him to come back. As you can see, I don't see Bryant Wesco Jr.'s name up here. Antonio Williams, he wants to go onto the pro draft. He's not returning. And of all the players that threatened to transfer, we couldn't get Sammy Brown either. We couldn't get Jay Haynes. The only person we convinced was a junior tight end that might not see the field that much anyway. As for some of the seniors graduating, I don't think we're getting 2 first-round picks like I was expecting. Both Blake Miller and Cade Klubnik are projected to be second-round picks. Then I noticed, though, that Cade had 10 skill points to spend, which is going to allow us to boost his accuracy up. That ended up making all the difference as we got our 2 first-round picks, so we will be able to go down the talent developer pathway like he asked us to. And this is going to be great news for Clemson fans. All we have to do is purchase it for 15 skill points, and we still have over 200 to spend. I kind of just assumed we'd be able to max everything out, but that was not the case. We're going to have to level up a few more times in order to do that. And for whatever reason, 5-star Jamison Armstrong has just reopened his recruitment, so we're going to be able to go after the 5-star receivers still, which is nice because, like I said, some of these 4-star receivers on our board are preferring Ole Miss. If we can just land left guard Robert Waters, we're going to sign a full starting offensive line in this class, 5 players. So as we look at the transfer portal, that's a position that we're probably not going to need much of. Coy Parrish, though, from Minnesota would be massive. He could follow PJ Fleck here from the Gophers. We could also get Ahmed Hardy. He's a beast. When it comes to the quarterback position, though, Monty Miranda might have some competition because Bryce Underwood is willing to consider Clemson, and so is Taven St. Clair. If you're a Clemson fan, it might seem weird for us to be using the portal like this, but one of your best players on defense came through the transfer portal. Cade Klubnik told us we could use it, so that's why we're going to. It has also turned into a blocker for us to make sure our rivals, South Carolina, don't get someone as talented as Bryce Underwood. I didn't want him that much, but now that I see they want him, we're going all in. By week 3, I can acknowledge not every single one of these recruiting battles is going to go our way, but for the players that I really wanted to land, I think we're going to get them. And as the commits start to flow in, I'm feeling a lot better about the roster we're going to have next season. For the guys I had to hard sell on, there were only a couple where I missed this badly, but somehow we've been able to stay in first place on Ahmad Hardy. So we should still get the running back that I really wanted to land, and let's say that we don't, well, we signed a transfer running back from Iowa, Kamari Moulton. I'm gonna be honest, with all the commits that we're about to sign, Coy Parrish being another huge name for us, there's no reason we should not win the ACC next year. And even quarterback Bryce Underwood's gonna come in, which really messes up the 5-star gym that we had commit. Having multiple options at quarterback is a huge blessing for us. Alabama and LSU were able to take away a couple signings that could have helped out our defense, but that's okay. Penn State got Taven St. Clair. We did not need a 3rd quarterback. Outside of that, we're going to sign everyone else, so you're going to see a lot of star devs since these guys were very highly touted. I don't know how many transfers have elite development, though. I've yet to find one that does. In all of my rebuilds, we're the number 2 class in the country. We couldn't beat out Georgia, but we filled a lot of these team needs. I don't know why they're still showing up as red. I'm about to move some guys around to make sure our entire roster is set in stone for the future. We could make this guy a tight end, a halfback, a linebacker, lots of different roles that can be filled. It's kind of crazy how many options we have at a position like tight end, though. We have a star dev sophomore, then we have both of these freshmen as well. They're going to be around the entire rebuild. At quarterback, this is where our options are a little bit more limited. It's going to be either Bryce Underwood or Monty Miranda. If there's any position group that's looking really weak for us, it's our offensive line. I think for a lot of these guys, we're going to be starting true freshmen because they're the best overalls we got besides a couple positions. And then Coy Parrish, since we also have Khalil Barnes as a solid free safety, I've decided I'm going to make him my user over the middle of the field as a linebacker. Training results are where we can really set this team up though. I told you, Ahmad Hardy is so good. He's already a 92 overall, so he will be gone after this next season, but we can probably get him to like a 95. He already has Platinum 360, sidestep, and shifty. We were able to max out his elusiveness. I guess we might as well get his quickness up to 92 speed, 97 acceleration. Then there's TJ Parker. He didn't declare for the NFL draft, which really caught me off guard, but I think it's pretty obvious we should be able to make him a 99 overall. We just need this run stopping stuff to keep on boosting it. But it only got him up to a 98. I'm not sure awareness and play recognition could take him higher than the finesse moves, but we're going to try it, and he's going to be the first true 99 overall I think I've ever gotten in a rebuild. This team's going to be insane, and Bryce Underwood's going to help with that as well. I think I've decided he's going to be our starter at least next season because his accuracy is higher, his speed is up to 90 speed, 95 excel. Then for our receiving core, everybody continued to get better. I told you with TJ Moore, I was going to make him one of the fastest players in the country. Now he's sitting at an 88 overall, but I don't think he's going to leave at the end of next season. It's kind of crazy that based on the archetype, how high of an overall you can take players. Like Easton Messer was a transfer. He's now our highest rated receiver. And by the time I'm done progressing all these players, I'm excited to see what our roster overall turns out to be. It says we're going to be a 91 with a 96 defense starting inside the top 25. I would hope that we could get back to the playoffs this year. If we don't though, this is a 4-year rebuild, so we're still going to have 2 seasons after this one. We also got some more coach points, which means tier 3 is going to be reached for every position besides our special teams. We can also continue to build out our recruiting board with some high schoolers, but I think transfers are going to make a bigger impact in the future. I just know that Dabo Sweeney would not be happy if we were not going after high schoolers still. For the guys I've decided to put a load into, someone like Channing Sherrill would be massive for us, a 5-star linebacker. He'd just help out our defense. As you can see, all the 5 stars were defensive players. We got some 4 stars on here as well, getting some more receivers in the mix just because it was a little bit of a team need for the future. There's a lot of players on this roster that are going to graduate early, and we're going to open up the season at LSU. Obviously, that's going to be a challenge, but afterwards we get Georgia Southern, so that will be a layup as a win. Then we got Georgia Tech, Florida State. We got Miami, Duke, South Carolina on the schedule. I think we should be able to get to the playoffs still, but my mind might be changed if we come out and play horribly at the Tigers. This is the battle for the real Death Valley. Bryce Underwood has a tough first game for Clemson, and it's been hard for both teams to come by getting some points. Hardy's not been able to get any big runs on the ground, but you have to think, eventually, we should be able to get into the end zone again. Bryce Underwood takes off here, and he's at the 7. We have so many weapons on this team, there's really going to be no excuses if we can't at least get to the playoffs. But as the crowd gets louder, as there's a flag on this play, I think it's a free play. LSU must have been offside, and they were. I think Ethan Messer's going to get open on this RPO. I was throwing it no matter what, but it deflects off of the back of someone for a pick. And that's how we're going to fall behind by 2 possessions to LSU, even if we prevent them from scoring a touchdown. I mean, both of these teams are just incredible. You're seeing players make plays that you typically would not be able to see. Where is our defensive line whenever we need them the most, though? Malik Murphy throws for a touchdown. That was the transfer LSU was able to get. We're going to step up in the pocket and be able to find Ethan Messer because we couldn't on the last drive. And Bryce Underwood's 3 interceptions are not making him have a very good debut for the Tigers. Hopefully throughout this season, though, he can figure things out a little bit better. His mistakes are going to be the reason that we can't win this matchup, because even though our defense has played well in most of this game, they've let LSU drive down the field a couple of times now. And giving up that field goal is just going to hurt our odds in this matchup. That's deflected into a pick. 4 turnovers for Bryce Underwood. The 5-star freshman sitting there on the bench wondering if he's going to get his opportunity after that. And I can't blame him. Bryce Underwood, if our championship contender doesn't go up, might just transfer at the end of this season as well, which would mean if Monty Miranda doesn't stick around because he's not getting playing time, we'd have no options. This kid has 1 skill cap, by the way, and it's only in health. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and let him get out there on the field. This is crazy. Bryce Underwood to transfer in for 1 game and then get benched, never seeing the field again. That would suck. But we'll just see what happens against Georgia Southern. If Monty Miranda doesn't play amazing, then he's going to get benched. The Eagles were always a team that we should be beating. TJ Moore has set the Clemson single-game receiving touchdowns record against them, and that is with 5 touchdowns on their head. So you know what that probably means for Monty Miranda's stat line. He did have an interception, but he also threw for over 350 yards. in a 58-0 win. You know what? We're just going to roll with him. I can't believe I forgot to hop into that game. The whole point of this video was I wanted to play every single game, but we just skipped over it. So I'll actually get to play with him for the first time against Georgia Tech. As a pocket passer, he's not my typical choice for who I'd want at QB, but he is making throws with dudes in his face. I'm impressed he got that ball out right there. And how are we still on our feet? Ahmed Hardy has not had the start to the year I was hoping he would. We're also going to fumble this ball away to the Yellow Jackets. But we are still looking to close out this first half strong as we're driving down the field up by 3. I'm expecting the true freshman to make some mistakes, but as long as he learns from them, it's cool. It's still kind of crazy to get somebody like Bryce Underwood and decide that we're not even going to use him. But here's the thing, no matter how good Monty Miranda gets over the next couple years, he'll be here for this entire rebuild. With 10 seconds left in the first half, we're looking for one of our slants, and we just got that out. The Georgia pass rush has been pretty effective. I think we're going to have to use our legs even though he's a pocket passer, or we can force it straight to them instead of just taking our 3. Monty Miranda making simple mistakes like that are the reason that with only a few minutes left in this game, we're down by 4. But we're still going to see if he can help us pull this one off in the end, and you can't be missing those throws. Bryce Underwood's rooting that he's going to keep on messing up over from the sideline though. We're going to hand this one off for 10. And Gideon Davidson's a pretty solid freshman running back we have on this team. I didn't see anyone here. Monty Miranda's going to have to throw it away. Georgia Tech is a pretty solid team, so losing this game isn't the end of the world. It's an inaccurate throw from him, though. He tried to split the seam, and that'll do it. I'm really disappointed. I thought the 5-star was going to thrive for us, but he's going back to the bench. He needs to sit out the rest of the year. And hopefully this time around, Bryce Underwood can play a little bit better. With 2 losses this early in the season, we're going to have players that want to transfer. We're already set up to not make it to the playoffs. And I was curious how this was going to affect our recruiting battles, but from the looks of it, we're in first place for most of these prospects still. It's just the ones that even where we have positive hard sells, Georgia somehow gets a bigger jump. I guess I'm just going to have to get most of these 5-stars to come on a visit in week 6 whenever we take on Virginia Tech. That decision's going to get us some huge complimentary bonuses, which is why I always like to do one side of the ball for a visit. Before that game though, we could start this season 1-3 as well because we're playing at number 12 Florida State. And I'm sure you thought when you clicked on this video, just like me when I started filming it, how hard could it be to rebuild Clemson? It's starting to be more of a challenge than I was ever expecting. You know, as we enter this final couple of minutes, all tied up at 24, it is really starting to seem like 1-3 could be a reality. Fortunately, we were just able to squeeze enough to pick up that first down, and we're going to complete this pass. But we have not had a great game offensively, only 120 passing yards. At least Bryce Underwood has 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. We're going to hit the RPO, and that's going to put us in field goal range. But I would expect the Seminoles to start calling some timeouts. We're just going to hand this one off. Ahmad Hardy must be injured because Gideon Davidson's been out there this entire game. On 3rd and 8, we are looking to move the chains, and it seemed like we had a touchdown, but it's an awful throw. We're sending the freshman kicker out there in this environment to drill this kick, and I think he's going to. Do we think our defense is going to be able to hang on, though? That's the real question. With play calling like that, Florida State, I'm not even sure they want to win. We just gave that spot up, though. I thought User and Koi Parrish, we could get to any spot on the field, and they just throw to the flat. After spiking the ball, it's 3rd and 2. I kind of want to send in a blitz here, but we're going to have to pick up the running back. We get in, and here we go. This is game. Brock Glenn either gets them in field goal range, or we take this one home. We're guarding that. Halfback angle route's open. They take the dump off, though, and they're not going to be close enough. I highly doubt they're about to attempt a field goal from midfield. They get the spike off, and the Seminoles feel like this is their best chance at still winning this game. We're watching underneath. They throw it quickly. That is going to do it. We needed a win badly, and we were able to get it, so the season's not going completely off the rails. Bryce Underwood bounced back with this performance. It was just enough for us to get the win, but I'm hoping for more passing yards against the Hokies. They're 4-1, but they lost their only conference game, so I'm not sure how good they actually are. And I'm just going to be honest, what we have seen out of our offense week after week has been such a letdown. There is no reason the Hokies should be able to get back into this game in the final minute, but that's what they're doing as they throw this one away. And I got to give credit to EA for making such a great game to where I can't select a play. I am literally hitting every button imaginable. I can't select a play. Let's just hope that we can hang on at the end here. It looked like we were going to get the pick. And on 3rd and goal, I have a quarterback spy. We need to be bringing in some pressure, though, and that's what we've done. It's in the air. I don't think they're going to hand this ball off, but they did, and we stopped the run. So a goal line stand is the reason that we're going to pick up another win. It's a good thing that's how that game ended, because I don't think I would have been able to select an offensive play with whatever bug was going on. Duke Jackson's going to commit. alongside probably every other 5-star that visited. But I guess that was being too optimistic. Either way, we should be running away with most of those battles now, though we did lose on the 5-star cornerback to Notre Dame, but he was visiting them that week. Following that tough win that we just had, we got an FCS school next up on our schedule, an easy win for us. I didn't think there was any reason to play that game. I was more excited to see how many 5-stars we could get to commit. A win there, even though it wasn't against an impressive opponent, is enough to get us ranked in the top 25 again at number 23. Looking at the rest of our schedule though, there are 3 top 5 teams in our final 6 weeks, and 2 of those opponents are conference opponents, so getting back to the ACC championship wouldn't be as simple as you might think. At least before we play Miami and Duke, we get to face off against a program like Cal, who just had a really disappointing loss in real life. They were setting up to have a really good season, especially with an easier schedule, and then they got blown out 34-0 by San Diego State. A team like that is not going to be able to take us down. We're actually making some really great throws with Bryce Underwood. So although our offense is still not scoring as many points as I would like it to, it's looking a little bit better. It's just taking them time to get familiar with each other. And the farther we get into the season, you're going to see more 5-stars have committed. We got 4 of them now. We're still coming down to the wire for these 2 cornerbacks though. Then when it comes to the 4-stars, besides an athlete that we lost to Penn State, we've won every other battle there. We put some more on our board just so we could increase the class size, but after that, we're going to go after players in the transfer portal. I feel like right now, the future that we're building towards seems really stable. But the one thing that could mess all of that up is if we start losing a lot of games again, and then all of that young talent decides they'd rather transfer and play somewhere else. That's why it's crucial we don't actually lose this game to the Tar Heels. They currently have a 3-point lead. And if they hold us on this 3rd and 10, we're going to have no choice but to kick a field goal and tie things up. We're going for the dump off, and we might go for this. I'm going to like the aggressiveness here. If we're able to pick this up, we're going to have to pitch it out to Gideon Davidson, who outruns everybody. And that is going to put all the pressure back on our defense. It turns out, though, as I accidentally skipped a few plays, Gio Lopez rushed for a 65-yard touchdown, putting them up with 19 seconds left. I don't think we're going to be able to get into field goal range, especially after we had to take out the kickoff, though we're going to try and thread the needle, which might have done it. We still have 8 seconds left, going for a little bit more yardage just off of this drag route. Our freshman kicker's about to have to attempt a 51-yarder. They even iced us, but I have confidence in him, and it looks like we're going to be headed to overtime against Bill Belichick's team. They won the toss, so we're going to have to start on offense against North Carolina. But just the fact that we were able to avoid losing this one in regulation is good enough for me, as TJ Moore's open on the first play. Now, I think the Tar Heels are going to be able to respond back pretty quickly, but Gio Lopez didn't like anything he had on that play, and he might test us or not. For their next drive, starting out with a run, Bray Hubbard missed a tackle. They get 5, and they're just going to keep it on the ground where there's no reason they should have gotten the first. We cannot be losing to North Carolina here. I'm trying to switch off of our defensive line. And here we go. This is where our stadium pulse should be making all of the difference. Gio Lopez on 3rd and 14 gets sacked. There it is. A touchdown is all it's going to take to beat North Carolina now. And should it have come down to this? Absolutely not. But this is something that this team can definitely handle unless we take a sack. Their man-to-man coverage just locked us up on 3rd and 17. We have TJ Moore. We have TJ Moore open once again. When Cade Klubnik told us that is a young superstar to keep an eye on, he was not kidding, is we're going to win this game. And even though it's North Carolina, this team's got a lot to celebrate. Whenever you can overcome a deficit like that, you got to love it. We're about to take on number 12 Miami with a chance to move up in the ACC standings. It always seems like Duke's going to be on top of the ACC, though, just because they perform so well in sim. So we know after we hopefully handle the Hurricanes here, we have another brutal game coming up. Well, we're trailing by 8 with 3.5 minutes left, and we're trying to make a play with Bryce Underwood here. We've rolled outside the pocket and fallen forward. I'm not sure if we're going to have an issue getting into the end zone, but when it comes to the 2-point conversion, I could see that being a problem, so we're just going to let TJ Moore get loose. Bryant Wesco Jr. is my read on this play. He did not get open with his slant. We're going to throw this one up, and they turned around faster. That was such a bad read. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it at all. Thankfully, we can set our feet here and get in. Now comes the 2-point conversion, and I think our read has to be our tight end. Wait for him to bite down. They almost got a hand on that. The next problem we're going to run into is getting them off the field. If they get into field goal range, this game's over, and they did. I think they could still miss from here. In fact, they're throwing the ball, which helps us, and we get back to it with Barnes. Barnes with the pick, turns upfield. There's no one over here to catch him. He's going to change this game with a potential pick 6. Oh, he's gone. He is gone. That's how you like it. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I thought we were about to lose to the Hurricanes. 3 losses on the year. Playoff hopes out the window. But instead, we force a major interception. We've seen this play before. All we have to do is wrap up, and we do. That's it. I don't know how this team continues to do it, but we have found our way to another win. And this one gets us up to number 8 in the country, also second in the ACC standings, though if Duke takes us down, then that's going to change. When we look at our schedule, they're the last tough team on here. This is a very winnable matchup. It's just remarkable that after such a slow start to the season, we've gotten to this point. Now, we know the Blue Devils do very well in sim, but how are they going to do on the field? That's where they typically fall apart because they're not actually that good, as you can see. We're up 21-0, and we're looking to make it 28-0 with another touchdown. It's only the second quarter, but I'd consider this one over. And the final ended up being 44-7. Since Duke was so highly ranked, we've moved up to number 4 in the polls. I think we could even lose to South Carolina to end the season, and we'd still get into the playoff. That win basically locked in our spot to the ACC championship. We only have one conference game left, and it's against none other than 3-7 Syracuse, but the whole reason we're doing this rebuild is because Fran Brown and the Orange shot Clemson, so we have to be careful. Before we hop into that matchup, though, I want to point out TJ Moore is in the Heisman race with his 15 receiving touchdowns, only 728 yards. He's behind Sean Reese, who has almost 500 more receiving yards, but he plays for Missouri State. I really don't think he's going to win the Heisman either way, but there is still an opportunity for him to do so. It'll at least make Bryce Underwood look in his direction a little bit more than he normally would, which is exactly why it might seem like we're running up the score in the final minute, because we want more touchdowns. Syracuse has not been able to score on us once. We have successfully been able to get our revenge with Clemson, and we are going to be headed to the ACC championship. We got TJ Moore 2 touchdowns too, but he didn't have that many receiving yards. So the Heisman Trophy's off the table, but he still gets to put his name in the Clemson record book. It seems like in the conference championship, we're most likely going to be playing the Blue Devils again, which means if we can just take down the Gamecocks in this game, we should be getting a first-round bye in the college football playoff. This bounce back has been quick, and it's been incredible. But I think the best part is the fact that after having so many close games earlier on in the season, ever since then, we've just been blowing out opponents as we're destroying South Carolina. We put up 49 points on their head to beat them by 3 possessions. And that was with somehow having less yards of total offense than they did. Like expected, we've gotten the Blue Devils in the ACC championship, though they've jumped us in the ranking even though we beat them. And I just can't imagine they take us down in that matchup. We're also experiencing the same bug that we did last year where we aren't gaining any hours and neither is Ohio State on a player. I've seen this before. I don't think we even need to be putting hours into him. I think he's just locked into commit at the end of his recruitment, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So if anyone else has gone through it in the comments, that could be helpful. Now we can just go ahead, get into this matchup against the Blue Devils, give them some BTA, and assert the dominance that Clemson should have never been able to lose in the first place. I knew eventually we'd probably have a game where we didn't put up as many points offensively, and it's happened, which is why you see us trying to stop Duke in the final 2 minutes. We only have an 8-point lead, but our defense is elite for that reason right there. They're throwing up a 50-50 ball that we should be able to intercept. We grab it with Hampton, and we might even go for the return to really ice this game. They still have 2 timeouts left. They can get the ball back with a little less than 30 seconds remaining. But I think we're going to just be able to pick up a first down anyway and end this game right here. It is remarkable the turnaround Bryce Underwood had for us this season. 253 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And like I said, the Heisman Trophy was not going to TJ Moore. It went to Austin Simmons. We get our first round bye in the playoffs, though. It's a bye. There's nothing else to really see here. We get the winner of Auburn and UCLA. That is a blessing for sure. We've also only gotten one player with elite development. It's Carlos Pino. He's going to be a beast off of the edge, but I'm not sure he's going to make as big of a difference as 99 overall TJ Parker, who had 12.5 sacks this season. Great defensive year from him. On the offensive side of things, Bryce Underwood didn't have the most passing yards, but he had a lot more passing touchdowns than we were able to get with Cade Klubnik. On the rushing side, Ahmad Hardy averaging 5.4 yards per carry. And then TJ Moore, not over 1,000 receiving yards, but 23 touchdowns is plenty. It's going to be interesting how this team shapes up next season, though, after we lose a lot of talent that is currently on this roster. Most of those names I just listed aren't going to be around again. We got UCLA in the next round. And if we get past the Bruins like we should, we're going to have to face either USC or Penn State. Now, I think it's safe to assume that Nico Iamaleava should still be with the Bruins, so that's probably why they've been able to get to this point this season. But they're an 84 overall, and if we can't handle them, we would never win a championship. It's definitely been an interesting game so far. We have only been able to score 14 points. And I'm willing to go for it on 4th and 4. We got TJ Moore operating out of the slot. Bryce Underwood stared him down, but now he's going to be able to just take off using his legs and go to the 11. We want a touchdown out of this drive probably shouldn't have kept it. But we have multiple reads we can make on this third down, and we're not going to need them. Staring down the tight end was all that it took. They had a guy jump off side too. That won't matter. We declined the penalty, got back on defense with another stop, and on a 4th and 3, there's going to be a huge flag. We were aggressive there. We could have just kicked a field goal and gone up by 10, but there's some PI. So that made it very worth it for us to go for it there because we're about to be up by 14. This could be a little bit of a premature celebration, just waving goodbye to UCLA. But ultimately, Nico Yamaliva has not been able to lead his team down the field since, as on a 4th and 17, we knock it loose. We were able to win the Peach Bowl by 20. We are ready for the semifinals. But I am not looking forward to facing Penn State in the Rose Bowl. They're going to be a challenge for us to face. It seems like Duke might stumble their way into the national championship, though. And if you just compare this season to what we went through last year, this has been such a stark contrast. I really thought we might not get back to this point until season 3 or 4, but that's what happens when Clemson uses the portal. Except here's the problem. We've gotten a little bit exposed in this game. We've only been able to put up 7 points with 7 minutes left. We're looking for lots of deep passes. All that motioning only led to a 10-yard gain. And guess how many interceptions Bryce Underwood has thrown in this matchup? He's thrown 3 of them. With our best receivers like Bryant Wesco Jr. dropping passes like that, it makes it really hard to take down the Nittany Lions. We're trying to beat them deep with TJ Moore. But ultimately, I think no matter what, the turnovers are just going to be what cost us. We might have had a good drive, but getting Penn State off of the field has been difficult. We're just going to have to hope that on 3rd and 1 they hand this off and we can shoot through that gap fast, except they break the tackle. Holding them to a field goal could still be a massive deal for us. I'm going to try and get some numbers in. I know where they probably want to go with this next throw too, except it's a quarterback run up the middle. I don't know why Anthony Varner slid like that, but 3rd and goal, we got caught on our own player. We would have lurked him perfectly. At least we still have all 3 of our timeouts left, so we could still pull off a comeback here. With the way Bryce Underwood has performed though, it's not very likely. That's a great read. We might have found a way to get some space through this zone coverage. Man-to-man on the slant. I thought they were about to get a hand on that football there, and either they're going to have to play this route underneath or over top. Well, running backwards for a 15-yard loss, not the most ideal thing you can do in the world. Nobody's going to pick up that guard. I honestly think we just need to send this up and hope our tight end somehow makes the catch. He doesn't, so it's going to end it. We're going to lose to Penn State. I was trying to conserve our timeouts, though, and that's what's going to cost us, even with a touchdown at the very end. Even if we beat them, I'm not sure if we would have been able to handle Georgia yet, but I would have at least liked to get a chance against them. We have so many guys that are either leaving early to the pros or that are just going to graduate, which is going to really affect this team. The worst one to me is Monty Miranda wanting to transfer away. It means somebody else is going to get him, probably South Carolina. And I'm going to be honest, I thought both TJ Moore and Tyler Brown were going to stick around for their senior year instead of going to the pros early. That's why they were only an 87, 88 overall, but they still dipped out of here, which means we have a lot of spots on this roster to rebuild. But I am excited for the transfer portal period because the #1 guy, defensive tackle Malik Autry from Auburn, is willing to come to our school. Another guy we have on our board is Stone Saunders. Since we lost our freshman quarterback that we wanted for the future, you're going to see a lot of receivers, a couple running backs. We got some defensive backs and edges out there too. I was even going to try and convince Monty Miranda to return to school, but we've still been locked out due to playing time, which has been ruined by Bryce Underwood. He's certainly nice to have, but I'm almost positive that after we upgrade him with training results, he's going to be going after next season. He won't be sticking around for a senior season, but Stone Sanders chose the Buckeyes. We must have gotten his hard sell guess incorrect. We did on Kerry Brown too. But what I have figured out is completely butchering your guess on the hard sell isn't always the worst thing in the world, because we have somehow stayed in first place on this edge despite doing that. And ultimately, we still did not win every battle. Micah Strickland, you know that's a legend I basically always get. We couldn't snag him. We didn't get that receiver, lost out on this edge. I think that might be the same one I just talked about. But we have 3 options for our future at quarterback. Kyrie Westbrook and Hugh Skinner both came out of high school. Skinner's got star development. We got impact on Blake Barnett. He came through the portal from Kansas State. And look at that. We signed the #1 class in the country. We're going to have no excuses to not win a championship sometime in the next 2 years. I really think because we got players like Noah Rogers and Nathan Leacock in the portal, our receiving core is not going to take a major step back like it would have. And how we handle our player progression is going to make a major difference for how things pan out in the next couple of years. For guys like Bryce Underwood, no matter what we do, he's going to declare early for the NFL draft, so we can just max him out. We can get him as good as possible. That got him stuff such as 92 speed. He also has 96 throw power. But then for somebody like Gideon Davidson, we don't want his overall to go up that much, so he can return for another year though quickness and elusiveness is going to get him to an 88, so that happened quick. I'm not even sure if he's going to be our starting running back despite having Platinum Shifty. That is how deep this team is, because we still have Saquon Smith who transferred in and Jeffrey Overton Jr. to upgrade. So ultimately, who we want to use is just going to come down to preference. Saquon Smith has 99 change of direction, 99 agility, 99 juke move and spin move, which is why he's been able to get Platinum Sidestep. He's a beast. On the receiving front, you're going to notice guys were able to save up stuff like 67 skill points with only impact development, and that's because of our talent developer abilities. We ended up building out such an insane core of guys because of how much they were able to progress. Even at tight end, we did the same thing, though these tight ends are maxed out. Their skill caps have been met. What it all comes down to, though, is the fact that we were a full-on talent developer, and then if you look over at PJ Fleck, our offensive coordinator, he was a talent developer there as well, as receivers and tight ends got XP even faster, so our ability to gain XP doubled. Everybody on this team made some good leaps forward, but those receivers made the biggest leaps forward. I think our offense is going to be almost unstoppable this year. And what I keep on figuring out is I'm recruiting too many players, which is causing us to have to encourage guys to transfer. I think this season, it's going to really shock Clemson fans, but I'm just not going to go after any guys out of high school. And as we take a look at this schedule, we got NC State, Old Dominion, non-conference opponents, Notre Dame as well. That's going to be a tough one, but I think we can get right back to the playoffs. We also still have 125 skill points to spend as well. It looks like we can upgrade to Master Motivator. This is something I've never gone down, but we can make it to where players are less likely to transfer, and we can also increase XP gains here too. I don't know what this is going to do to our team, but some of these stacks have to be insane. I think next season, all of our receivers are going to have like 100 skill points to spend each. That is going to be wild, but before we can ever get to that moment, we have to play through all of Season 3. NC State has a night game for us. And when I saw them on the schedule, this might sound bad, but I just wasn't going to take them that seriously, though they're locking up that play. They got the howl going on, the stadium pulse trying to get to us, but you know what we could do with Bryce Underwood since we made him even faster? Just run our way in. In fact, when you compare our offense versus last year's, it was able to get even better, which is crazy to think about since we had a lot of guys get drafted. It didn't perform as well on the field though versus this season where I think it will. I was going to sleep on Bryce Underwood, but this could be the season where he goes for the Heisman Trophy. We'll have to see though. He rushed for about as many yards as he threw for. Next up on our schedule is Old Dominion, and I'm honestly disrespecting them. They're a 57 overall. Do we need to play that? I just feel like there was no way we were going to drop the ball there. We won 65-0. We're the #1 team in the country, and we got 4 ranked opponents on our schedule, but none of them scare me. I'm just so excited for how the rest of this season continues to go. Stanford is up next. They're coming to our place, and we're trying to make Death Valley feared again after we lost multiple home games in the past we shouldn't have. Leave it to Stanford, though, to come into our stadium and make this team panic extremely hard. They're currently up by 11 points with 6 minutes left. We got to get at least a field goal out of this drive. I don't think we're going to get the first. It wouldn't be wise to go for it on a 4th and 12, which is why we're going to get it back within 8. Even if we can come back in this matchup, I am very concerned for the rest of this year now. We've just left them open. It's Austin Mack back there at quarterback, continuing to lead them down the field. He just took a flag. That's actually a major deal, because if we can get a sack on this down, they're not going to be able to get a field goal here. Get the sack, or give it up. That play right there ruined our comeback hopes. We'd never touch the ball again. I can't believe it. We're 3 years deep in this now, and we're still losing games with Clemson that we shouldn't. We dropped all the way down to number 17. You have to remember, though, last season started out a little bit rocky. We bounced back. We made it all the way to the semifinals. But all of a sudden, these ranked games on our schedule are a little more intimidating, especially when you have to go to Lane Stadium, who no matter how good the team is that is taking the field for Virginia Tech, these fans are going to go crazy. When a game comes down to whether or not our defense can get a stop, it always makes me pretty nervous, but we can trust them. We have seen them come out on top in plenty of positions like this before. We just got to make that tackle. We're trying our hardest to maintain our 6-point lead. Are they going to test us? They just got it into that window. I'm starting to become a little bit more worried than I was a minute ago. Quarterback Dan Mahan hasn't done much throughout this matchup, but now he wants to start making good throws. At least they couldn't complete that one right there. 3rd and 10. Seam isn't open. You got to go to the check down. What did I say? We can lean on our defense here at the end of these games. Come on. Hit right before the marker. We're good. I'm happy with this win as well. Virginia Tech was ranked. We had to go on the road there, and we still closed it out. It was most likely never going to be a blowout. Next up, we are headed to Louisville. If you ever want to impress someone from Kentucky, it's Louisville. It's not Louisville. It's not Louisville. Louisville. That is how it's pronounced. Trying to avoid another scare here, we're going to easily have the slant. Our transfers have still been really solid. It's just been the inconsistency from them that's hurt us, because when they're playing well, we're dominating teams 42-14. With our last couple results, we're slowly moving back up in the rankings. There's going to be a lot of undefeated teams that are going to be ahead of us until they start to lose. But I don't think that one loss is going to ruin our season. I think we'll still have a good shot at getting back into the ACC championship. We just got to make sure we play either Florida State or Duke. I thought I remembered the Seminoles being on our schedule. They are. We just got to go through the Eagles first. And currently they're sitting at 3-3, 2 losses in conference play, plus we get to host them at home. We all know what happened though when Stanford came to town. But here's the thing. I feel like that was just a great wake-up call for this team, because ever since then we've been winning games by multiple possessions. We're even going for a touchdown here at the end of the game. Why not lateral it back? I guess give up a free touchdown to them. It just doesn't matter. The game was over already. He might get his scholarship pulled. Coach isn't going to be too happy about it, but we still won. We go for highlight plays over here, and we might need a lot of them whenever number 4 Florida State comes to town. I'm a little hesitant for us to come out in these purple jerseys because a lot has gone wrong whenever we have. But one thing I've been wanting us to do better is how we run the football. So we've been trying to focus on that a little bit more, and we're going to throw it straight at them on 3rd and goal. We're still going for it on 4th and goal just because we can. I'm rolling out with Bryce Underwood and scrambling in. I felt like they wouldn't have a quarterback spy out there. And we get to go over and celebrate with the fans, at least close to them. Ever since that moment, we've maintained our lead really well. But Florida State got pressure fast there. It's allowed them to start driving down the field again. And I can't stress enough how lucky we are they just missed that throw. 4th and 4. We're trying to keep the crowd pumped up. I don't see anything there. We have to guard all of this, and we get the interception with Towns. It's just great defense from the Tigers. He's a young one, but he made a big play for us, and Gideon Davidson is going to get like a 20-yard gain. I think we're going to be able to close this one out as well. We're going to keep it with Bryce Underwood and then just run up the hole our running back went through. Then they're going to come out aggressively, trying to stop the run, where we might just take a shot deep to Nathan Leacock, the transfer. All we really need is another first down. I thought that was worth the risk. Bryce Underwood getting so much on the ground for us. And the Seminoles would never see the ball again as we take them down. That result against the Seminoles is going to move us up to number 4 in the country. You know we still have ranked opponents on our schedule coming up though, like Notre Dame and SMU. So those are some of the games I'm most worried about. It is no surprise that Duke is doing the best in ACC play. They just always perform well in sim. It is really seeming like we're going to be back in the playoffs again. I got a little worried for a second after we dropped a game to Stanford, but the bounce back has been fun and it should continue. I'm not very happy with the fact that there's 3 minutes left and it's all tied at 13. But that comes with playing on the road. You can see Bryce Underwood is struggling to get some of his audibles in. We're looking at our slant. He's double teamed. And this is where Bryce Underwood's just going to have to be special and make a play. He probably tried to do a little bit too much there. 3rd and 18, he's going down. Sure enough, SMU would take this opportunity as well to work it down the field. And we literally don't want to stop them because they're in field goal range. They can end this game if they don't get into the end zone. We were trying to avoid tackling them. Somehow, out of pure luck, they had an injury timeout. And so with 1:09 left, we got the ball back and a chance still. Anthony Varner transferred to SMU, by the way. I don't know what it is about this quarterback, but I'm getting sick of facing him. For a split second, we had our running back there. And I feel like whenever we end up having a team this good, I end up playing a lot dumber than I normally would. I feel like I can just chuck some stuff up and they're going to carry us to a win. When we still have to make the plays ourselves, we couldn't catch it. It was not the worst look in the world, though. Nathan Leacock is going to be my read on this one, or the slant. Having a drop like that, though, with this little time left is just brutal. They're going to give up the underneath pass so we can move the chains. But we have no timeouts left, so we only have a few more shots at reaching the end zone. And that's not open. That's not open at all. We're going to throw the pick. It's over. It's over. We lose to SMU and Stanford this season. At least SMU's been good recently. Stanford hasn't been good in like a decade. We have failed once again, though, to build a team that just takes care of business and wins every game that they should. Getting rid of Dabo Swinney might not have been the move. Clemson fans can't possibly be any happier with me. And I'm trying my hardest to earn their support back against Wake Forest. I feel like being up 28-9 and closing this one out should do that, at least somewhat. But I still can't get over the fact that we have lost another game this season. Whoa, we just broke both those tackles to get in. When you're signing 4-star transfers like Mazeo Bennett Jr., though, those are the plays you expect. I just don't think Bryce Underwood has been as solid as we were hoping. When it comes to throwing for passing touchdowns, he just has not had a good season. He only has 16 of them so far. He's thrown 6 interceptions, all of them being in the last 4 weeks. So he is in a little bit of a slump, a junior slump, and we got to still get through Notre Dame before beating up on an FCS school and then playing South Carolina. By this point in the season, there's no ACC games left on our schedule, so I think it's pretty guaranteed we're not getting into the conference championship unless Duke, SMU, and Florida State fall apart. I guess they still could, but if we lose to the Fighting Irish and we have 3 losses, then we're probably going to be on the outside of the playoffs. Notre Dame is currently 9-1, so the fact that they're ranked 13th, it just lets me know that either they had a super weak schedule or they're not being respected as much as us. Either way, if there was ever a time for Bryce Underwood to snap out of all these turnovers, to play better, no more interceptions, now would be the perfect time for that in this rainy night game. But you can see who's not out there on the field as we're handing it off to Gideon Davidson for a touchdown. That's right, Bryce Underwood is injured. He's not out there. And it's due to a high ankle sprain. Our offense has not been great in this game, but we're still in front. That has all been off of the back of our defense that is just not giving up points. And the fact that they are going for this on 4th and 22 lets you know how they feel their odds are in this one. We give it up. I was today years old when I found out Jerome Bettis has a son that is at Notre Dame. Though we force a fumble, they scoop it up. And he was the one that made that crazy catch. They're not getting the first. I find it so odd they went for a 4th and 22, but this 4th and 1 from the 4-yard line is too much for them. They've missed the kick as well. And you really can't bounce back from a miss like that. We've just had Barnett continuing to hand the ball off. Now, this could end up being too aggressive, but what we're doing is just going for it on 4th and 1 because we felt like we could end this game. I really just didn't want Notre Dame to see the football again. And the following week, we got our free win of the season, so we're ready for our final regular season matchup. When it comes to getting into the ACC championship, we have the tiebreaker over Florida State, but Georgia Tech also being 6-2 in conference play, I'm not sure how that's going to affect this. We're also up to number 6 in the polls, so if 1 or 2 of these teams loses, we could still get a first round bye in the playoffs. I don't want to speculate on anything else though. All I want to do is take care of business against South Carolina. I can't get over how hard their intro goes on this game either. They've got me pumped up for them coming out of the tunnel. But at the end of the day, we've got to pull away at some point, and it seems like we're going to be able to do that here in the 4th quarter. Gideon Davidson's closing in on 100 rushing yards, something that he typically doesn't get. You can kind of see why though. We're going to hit the bubble. We have nowhere to go. And we're just going to have to take one of our drags on this play most likely. It stops, but Bryce Underwood's not going to. After that touchdown though, I got really curious at there being a concession stand in the background here on the ground. Wouldn't fans just crowd around this area if in the stadiums there's this open section where you can get concessions then watch the game from field level? I know it might seem like a super random thing to nitpick, but I've been to a lot of those on-field things in the stadium and they're basically just for media. And if they're not for media, then they're going to be for the players to run out of the tunnel and stuff. It's just weird to see it at South Carolina where there's concessions down there. And if you haven't noticed, guess who South Carolina's quarterback is? It's Monty Miranda. Our former 5-star Jim decided to transfer to the Gamecocks like we thought he would. And although he's not been that great, the South Carolina defense has been pretty solid, which is why we need Nathan Leacock to get to that ball. We're trying to end this game with a couple of first downs. At least he's going to bring in this pass. And one more will do it. The Gamecocks only have 1 timeout left. We're getting close. We just got to keep it with the read option with Bryce Underwood, and this is why we decided on keeping Bryce Underwood instead of Monty Miranda. He is the better quarterback. He is the reason that we're going 10-2. And what I would love to see is if Monty Miranda would transfer back to our school after this season. I'd give him that opportunity. I'm hoping that we're back-to-back ACC champions, and we should be, but we don't know what version of Duke we're going to get. From my experience facing them, they're either flat out awful or they keep things very competitive. And there's no in between. You can see what version we got in this game. They have not been playing very well as we just scored another touchdown. And going up 37-7 feels amazing. Duke was able to score at the very end, but it wasn't going to give them a chance at beating us. And it feels good to get this back-to-back. Now that the standard for Clemson football over the last decade has come back, there's very few players that want to actually transfer. And with 12 sacks, Sincere Edwards won Defensive End of the Year for us, which is impressive considering last year we had a 99 overall and he did not win that award. He also had more sacks. Anyway, it looks like we're going to be getting either Florida State or for Auburn in the second round. We have gotten a bye again, and Bryce Underwood not thrown for many touchdowns this season or very many passing yards. Maybe it's that Baylor playbook that is holding back our offense. Even though it's air raid, I feel like it has to be, considering the fact that we have 3 receivers over a 90 overall, and these are the stats they put up. At least on the defensive side, though, we're having some good numbers. I think both of our edges are going to return next season because their deal breakers are not met, and they're not good enough to get drafted yet. At least overall wise, since that's all the game seems to care about, we're going to find a different air raid playbook. I just don't trust Baylor's at the moment. Maybe we go with something like Western Kentucky. They normally have quarterbacks that pass for a ton of passing yards in real life. And I am still following Cade Klubnik's instructions. All he said was keep the offense air raid. I was kind of hoping that we got to play Florida State in this game, but we're getting the Tigers, who have 4 losses, but they still got into the playoffs. They must have made it to the SEC championship, though, and they just didn't get punished for losing it. I feel like with 4 losses, you shouldn't have a way in either way, but maybe it's an easy win for us. I would gladly love to head back to the semifinals. For all we know, this is a championship team. And let's just be real. I have been able to win in rebuilds with way worse than this. Bryce Underwood is a cheat code himself. He's not going to get the hurdle. But I still think we're going to be able to finish off this drive and continue to be in a really good position. I might be able to scramble outside the pocket every single play if I really wanted to. As for my play call here, we're just going to hand it off to Smith. The transfer comes in and does nothing. I know he was highly touted, but I don't think he's going to be a piece that we really end up missing next season. At some point, you just got to feel bad for Jake Merklinger. He couldn't get into the end zone there, and he throws us a pick at the end of the game as we're just trying to make it worse. That is how we are going to close out the Peach Bowl, winning 28-11. We proved to be the better Tiger team, but now we have to face off against Alabama. And they were able to take down Duke in Sim, which speaks volumes. Colorado and Penn State are on the other side of the bracket. I really hope we're able to come out on top, and then we get to face the Nittany Lions in the national championship, so we have our opportunity at revenge for last season. It would just make for a great storyline, and my theory is the game has storylines built into Dynasty somehow, because stuff like that always seems to happen with the playoff picture. With about 3 minutes left in this one, it is all tied up at 17. Our corner route is naked. He's open, so we're going to hit him. Unfortunately, Noah Rogers stepped out of bounds, though, and we go down. That was a clean blitz. Absolutely nobody picked him up, so we're just going to be patient and hook up with Noah Rogers here. So that way, even if we don't pick up this 3rd and 11, we're still going to be able to kick a field goal. We're going to have to juke and not go anywhere. Bryce Underwood tried to make a play on the ground with his legs, but instead, he's setting up our defense to need to get a big stop on the Crimson Tide. I have faith in this team, though. Keelan Russell goes over to the flat. And I'm going to call a timeout before 3rd down. I believe our corners are good enough to where we could get away with sending 7 on this play, but I didn't get out to the flat. Yet we're still going to do it again. We send our blitz, they get the slant, and this is not good news. I think we might just need to let them get in. What we have done is we've just put this game in Bryce Underwood's hands. We score a touchdown, we win. If we lose, though, that's going to be the end of his college career. Why are we handing it off? I thought we called a passing play. I mean, it worked out at least. We might even have them beat deep over on that left side. We're chucking this one up. Double coverage. Bennett Jr. still had the step, and he's in the end zone, but we left too much time. We are in the same position we were on the last drive, except we forced a sack, and it didn't matter. Then they got lucky. We had an injury timeout, so we decided to send a blitz on Keelan Russell. He's still standing back there. What is he doing? What is he doing? I think even the game thought he was supposed to get sacked there, but he didn't. He stayed on his feet. I don't know if we're going to be able to guard everything here. They're in field goal range. They're in field goal range. You know what? I am all for sending the house again, except they got us with a halfback screen. We're going to be headed to overtime unless they get in. That is starting to feel like a very real possibility as they get out of bounds. I will just continue to drop everybody back. They're handing this ball off, and I think they're just setting up to spike it to kick a field goal. Well, this is not going to finish the way I wanted it to. Maybe we get lucky with a huge play in 6 seconds, but we don't. And I think I should have just thrown that ball up to Nathan Leacock. It looked like he had a decent chance of getting open there. We have a 50-50 chance. Better not return this for a pick 6. That would be a very heartbreaking way to lose here. Someone make the tackle. Okay, overtime, here we come. I'm still confident in this team. I believe we will get our stop in overtime, even though we couldn't at the end of regulation. We just got to switch over to some man-to-man coverage, and they ran it twice. I have everybody backed up. We're protecting the sticks, and they went for 3 straight runs. That was a very weird decision by Kalen DeBoer to settle for 3. With Bryce Underwood, we're looking to just start this drive off with a bang as well. Using his legs, he's out at the 5. He might carry us down this entire field. If we can audible over to halfback screen, we have the blockers there. They just adjusted to our play, by the way. But we still have the numbers. We turn upfield, we hurdle over, and that's how you end it. What a win in the Cotton Bowl to head on to the national championship. In that game, it worked out exactly how we were hoping it would. We have our chance at revenge against Penn State. They took down Colorado 44-31, though asking for the harder opponent is a little odd. Maybe we wanted it for the storyline, but at the same time, I would much rather just win a championship. And now we're going to have to really earn it, but after that win against Alabama, we're not worried about anyone. Now, if you remember back a couple years ago, when we signed Bryce Underwood, we lost out on quarterback transfer Taven St. Clair. That's who we're facing today. Penn State no longer has Anthony Varner, but in us not getting Taven St. Clair, now he might beat us. I don't love being down by 7 points with 6 minutes left, though we can make this a 3rd and 5. And we'll see what type of coverage they go with. Our hitch was open, but I went for a deeper route. The blitz got in, we had to punt, and I'm kind of regretting it, though it looks like they're going to be passing on 3rd and 3. We can get them off of the field if we just drop back a little farther. Now that it's 3rd and 8, I kind of want to send in a blitz because I don't want them to be in field goal range with the chance to go up by 2 possessions. And what a decision that was. It looks like they're going to be in cover 2 man pressing here. I was very worried to throw anything, but we're going to force it last second. I saw our tight end get open first, but I just felt like if we gave it to him, it might not work out. They just typically end up getting caught up to whenever running routes versus man-to-man coverage. We just got baited. It's over. It's going to be over. We're going to go another year without winning at all. Our only hope is they somehow get themselves out of field goal range here. But I think they're just going with a run, and he faked the pitch. He faked the pitch. I don't think the blitz is going to work 2 times in a row. We couldn't get our hand on the ball, and that does it. I can't believe it. Penn State is going to beat us again. The Nittany Lions have had our number 2 years in a row. I'm trying my best to put together some good drives to end the game now. This is a great throw. But Bryce Underwood's waited way too long to start playing this well offensively. We're going to roll out with him, and we're just going to take it in, but we got to get a stop or onside kick. Might as well go for the 2-point conversion too. I see no problem with it, though I threw that slant a second or 2 before. It just didn't register the first time, so we're down by 8 points, and they scoop it up. Plus, they're at the 42. We only have 1 timeout left. If they were going to run the ball, we couldn't get it back. There would have been like 3 seconds left. But passing it made it worse. They just ended the game on that first down. 2 years in a row, our season ends to Penn State and James Franklin. Who would have thought? Now we head into this final year of the rebuild, losing Bryce Underwood. We're going to try and convince him to stay. He did come back, which shocked me. Then Sinquan Smith did as well. I highly doubt Mazeo Bennett Jr. will also return. It makes me wonder, though, of all these players that are returning, Gideon Davidson isn't going to. Jeffrey Overton Jr., he's returning. But I'm just feeling extremely lucky at the moment. Our kicker wants to leave us. That's such a weird guy to lose to the portal. Obviously, we have some seniors graduating, gonna get drafted too. But Bryce Underwood returning to college for another season is the major story. I can't believe we were able to get him to come back. Our player progression is gonna go insane. All those players getting drafted just gives us even more coach XP to spend. And you know that when we're doing it down here, we're increasing our XP gains for these positions. I decided to do it for our defensive linemen as well. We could get the #1 receiver, #2 player in the transfer portal to transfer to our school, DJ Pickett. He's a 6'4" corner that's a monster. I'd love to sign him. We have just put a ton of guys on our board, and we'll see how it turns out. So far, it's actually not going that well. It might be the worst transfer portal class we've ever had because we've already lost out on multiple players. It took 2 weeks for someone to commit to Miami, 2 weeks for someone to commit to Georgia. And I had almost zero information whenever it came to guessing hard sells for a lot of these players, which means we're not going to get as many guys. I'm just going to have to remove a lot of these players from our board that we've either been locked out from or we lost the battle on because our hard sells weren't good enough. And I feel like deep down, somehow these players are just aware that Bryce Underwood's coming back because we had no luck when it came to getting quarterback transfers. They might claim that they don't care about playing time, but to me it was very obvious that they still did, even if it wasn't one of their 3 interests. It's all good though. I think we were returning a lot of our talent already. Even at the receiver position, we know those guys are going to progress a ton. My favorite team beat us out for a free safety. Either way, we signed 13 more players that should help us, especially on our offensive line, which has been our weakest position. Now, talent developer is very special because it seems like you get those skill points during the regular season before training results. So we've saved up 33 on Warren Groupie. This is true for a lot of the players that we have on this roster, but the reason I point him out specifically is I have been targeting him to be our future running back for a year. We're able to give him stuff like the shifty ability before we move him over to that position. And so when we actually go to make him a running back, he's clearly going to be our starter. It It really seems like only our receivers and tight ends were able to build up all these extra skill points during the season, though. I'm not seeing that on other positions, so maybe it's a bug just for them. Either way, we get a lot more skill points and training results to spend on these players, and I think this team is going to blow out every other team that we've had so far. I just can't get over the fact that we still have this many elite receivers on our roster. Unfortunately, though, for the tight end position, Christian has 111 skill points to spend, but his skill caps have been limiting him, so we can't upgrade him any further. And for our backup tight end, it's the same thing. He's maxed out his skill caps. Even on Bryce Underwood, I wasn't so sure what we'd go for, but we've gotten his elusiveness, break sack especially, incredibly high, and what that does is it gives us gold extender, so he's probably going to break the first sack attempt most of the time. With all the skill points we were able to spend on these players, pairing that with the fact that Clemson already had a very solid base roster, this is easily going to be the most NFL prospects I have ever been able to put into the NFL with the team. I mean, look how far I'm scrolling, and we haven't even cracked 90s yet. It took a long time to get there, and then there's players like Brendan Dunbar who are going to make for a great user, but he's only a sophomore. He still can't be drafted. He very clearly had room to grow too. I'm just going to take you through every position on this team, because you all will see why. I mean, tight end is our lowest overall, I think, but you'll see why I'd be very upset if we happen to even lose one game on our schedule, because everywhere we are starting monsters. Linebacking core could be better. Our defensive backs are insane. And I don't care if there are other 99 overall teams in the country. Ohio State's not one. Georgia is. They just don't have a roster that even compares to what we have. Looking at the schedule, we open up with Troy, then we play NC State, an FCS school. So we got a couple of easy wins on there. NC State might give us a scare, but it's the same thing as the past couple seasons. If I am overly confident in our chances in a game, I don't even want to waste the time of hopping into it, because we're going to win no matter what. In fact, even though we ran all over Troy, Warren Groupie had a very good start for us. I'm upset by the fact that we gave up 7 points. And seriously, I don't care who we're facing. If we're not cruising through the whole season, there's a problem. Due to getting talent developer, we were able to not just max out abilities, but overalls too. But has that done anything for our pass rush? The answer is no. The only reason NC State's even been able to score against us is for whatever reason, with the stadium pulse, with us sending 4, they still have all the time in the world back there in the pocket. And that's been pretty frustrating. On 4th and 2, though, they hand it off, and no one can get out there. So they're still in this game. We just cannot lose after all that I was saying. I'm still extremely confident in this team. On 3rd down, I can't guard both of these guys. They have a touchdown. And ultimately, you have found the problem. We have a perfect roster, but the user that is controlling that perfect roster isn't as good. At least all we have to do is get into field goal range, which I don't think is going to be that difficult. I want to test out Bryce Underwood on the ground, though maybe I don't. This play had an instant rollout in it, and that is where we're going to actually get to take off and scramble, go for the hurdle. Ever since filming with the bad wide receiver for that video, I have formed some really bad habits, but we have someone wide open that's going to get us into field goal range. In case you're wondering, running the ball is also a ton of fun too. We just happen to have this game turn out a lot closer than anyone would have thought. Still though, as long as we remain undefeated on paper, it doesn't matter how tight it was. We're going for that undefeated season, and this is our next opponent. That turns into another cakewalk for us, but we have to play at Stanford. I have not forgotten what they did to us last year. SMU isn't on our schedule, another team that beat us. And I am just rooting that Penn State has a bad season. They've already picked up 1 loss. They beat UMass 54-14, but they lost to Syracuse by 11. See, we're not the only team that loses to Syracuse when you should. I would just really appreciate if we didn't meet Penn State in the playoffs again. And they might be sitting here dancing pregame, but they're not going to be that happy by the end. One thing I'm noticing is our offense is still not playing as well as I'd like for it to, but our defense does the job. We can give up late touchdowns and still easily close it out, as we still have double Stanford score. When it comes to a Heisman Trophy winner, though, we might not have that on this team. And the Cardinals are currently sitting at 4-0, but they're 17 overalls worse than us. There's just no reason we should lose. I feel like I say that before a lot of games, though, and then what do? We go out there and we blow it. One thing I will say is I feel like the Super Sim inside of the actual game is so much different than it would be if we just sim from the menu. And the reason I say that is because with 1.5 minutes left, Louisville has it within 4. I know they have CJ Carr and he's good at this point, but this is just another game that we might lose with an almost perfect team. I really don't love that we're only sending 3 on this next play. They are going to break that first tackle attempt. And I'm not sure if they'd run the ball from the 1-yard line with 49 seconds left. Normally, they like to throw. But you know what that does? It puts us down by 3 with about 40 seconds left, and that could be intercepted. We just can't escape these close games. We could have literally the best roster in the world. It doesn't matter at all. Clemson might be cursed. A national championship run might be cursed. Bryce Underwood has all the time back there, and we're actually going to playmaker to get a much bigger gain. I thought we were about to get in each other's way. We are certainly not kicking a field goal versus the Cardinals. We want to end this game in regulation. Bryce Underwood trying to make the play himself, and that is what he does. I'm pretty upset this is how another matchup has turned out for us, but at least we won. And just to prove my point where I think sim in the menus versus any sim in the game goes differently, watch what happens against Syracuse. We didn't just beat them here. We laid 45 points on their head. And with a few rushing touchdowns, Warren Group has become a part of the Heisman race. After a bye week, we fell down to number 2 in the country for what I think is the first time this season. It's a little bit unfortunate. I was hoping we'd stay number 1 the entire year. And even if we can't do that, we can still prove we're number 1 by the end. Well, the Super Sims seem to be on our side in this game. There's not much for me to do at the end besides continue to run up the score and drop 50 on them. That was one of our most dominant wins the entire year, and we continue to just get better. It's a good thing we're hitting this stride at this time in the season too, because we have 4 straight road games coming up, 3 of them being against top 13 programs. And at the moment, it might seem like we're going to be in the ACC championship, but there's a couple other undefeated teams in conference play too. In the year where we really do need to win it all, of course this is when the ACC decides to step it up again. But still, there is one team I fear in the playoff, and it's Penn State. For everyone else, I feel pretty comfortable super simming against them and then making sure that we close out the game at the end. That's what we're doing against Georgia Tech, who is settling for a field goal from about midfield instead of going for it. It might be the smart move. They saw how much time was left and that they'd have a better chance in just stopping us on defense, though we're already getting a first down. That was with our backup as well. Imagine what's going to happen when Group gets out there. If he gets loose, it's going to be a house call. We're going to keep this one with Bryce Underwood. And here it is, the third down that we were worried about. We were trying to get a streak out there on the field, but I was always going to try and force it over there. They might actually beat us. Oh my gosh. All they need is a field goal. They really did the smart thing on their last drive. In fact, after that completion, I don't know why they're in hurry up mode. We almost want them to just get into the end zone as soon as possible or kick that field goal as soon as possible. It is now 3rd and 12. And they just went with an RPO. We should have known that going on the road to the top 11 team was going to be difficult, but I just let my blind confidence in this team take over, and we'll take 5. There's still a minute and a half left. Again, all we need is a field goal, so we can afford to just roll out, hit one of our slot receivers and slide, and take it. If Bryce Underwood has to scramble as well, you know that he has what it takes to make a play on the ground, which is what he's going to do here. So for a second, it might have looked like Georgia Tech was going to pull off the upset, but we are already in a much better position, and we're just going to continue to capitalize. It is nice having a quarterback that can hit throws like that so consistently. We have set ourselves up to just win this game with this kick, and we do. What that means for the rest of this year, though, is we aren't unbeatable. Even when we were hitting our stride, it can very quickly come to a halt. But we have a 30 overall advantage over Virginia. This is one that shouldn't be competitive. This one has been a fun game to just run up the score in. I mean, we are just dusting every corner of theirs. For all we know, Bryce Underwood could have gotten his name up into the Heisman watch, especially after a 5-touchdown performance. He's still not up there though, but our favorite quarterback, Anthony Varner for SMU, they might be in the playoff. They've been having a pretty good year, just not as good as both us and Miami, as we're sitting undefeated in ACC play. We only have 1 conference game left. We have to play Notre Dame, then Florida State, then South Carolina. It's a tough final 3. We're still better than all these teams, but stuff happens, especially on the road. I'm not even surprised as we enter the final 2 minutes. We're currently down by 3, and they almost got an interception off of us right there. That would have ended the game. The stadium pulse is picking up, but there's one thing Bryce Underwood can still do when no one is open, and it's run. That play's at least settled down the crowd a little bit. Looks like they're going to be sitting back in some cover 3. All we wanted to do there was keep the clock running and then handing this ball off to go to the 1. The more time that we can take off of the clock before we get into the end zone, the better for us. And Notre Dame is just doing nothing with this drive so far. I feel like we're covering everything pretty well deep. We're on that one, but they almost held on. You know, if there's any takeaway I should have from that, it's that I might not want to use her a safety. We still closed it out with that stop though, and we've become 10-0. Headed into next week, what I think would be super sweet is if we just knocked Florida State's playoff hopes off the table right now by beating them. And we'd be leaving this entire stadium so disappointed. Ultimately, what the Seminoles have realized in this game is they're just not that good. We've been able to stay on top by a couple possessions the entire day, and this result leaves us with 1 more game in the regular season. I thought South Carolina might turn into a pain to face in this dynasty, but they haven't been that good. We have also reclaimed our spot at number 1 in the country. And we were up by 21. They scored a touchdown, but we're still going to recover this onside kick, so it's another game we can close out. It just wasn't a contest at any point throughout it, just like last week against Florida State. As for the ACC Championship, this year we have to play Miami, so it's going to be harder than playing Duke, who actually went 8-4. They didn't have as good of a season as they have been the past couple years. I'm looking for Penn State in the top 25, though. I'm not seeing them anywhere yet, so they're not going to be in the playoff. When it comes to our odds of winning it all, that is some very good news. To be honest, this game doesn't mean that much to me because either way, I think we have a first-round bye in the playoff. I couldn't imagine a loss here dropping us below 4. But if this is the position we're going to be in with a few minutes left, we might as well stay undefeated. Here on a really big 3rd and 9, I figure one of their underneath routes are probably going to get open. But we just let them walk into the end zone, which is even worse. On the 2-point conversion, I think they're going to try and scramble. Come on, bring him down. We got him. Now, with 3 timeouts left, Miami decided to kick it deep. They trusted their defense to get us off of the field, which isn't happening. And that means for 3 years in a row, we've been able to win the ACC. I'm very glad we kept things the way it should be. Clemson running the conference. But to me, if we can't even win a national championship with Clemson in this video, that means absolutely nothing. It looks like we've had another defensive award winner. That was the only one Amari Adams got, and he was 3rd in sacks on this team. He didn't have 13 like Ari Watford did, who got no recognition at all. When it comes to interceptions leaders, it looks like it was Corian Gibson and DJ Pickett. I really enjoy looking at the offensive stats, though. Bryce Underwood threw for a little bit more yards, more touchdowns this season. 14 touchdowns on the ground for Warren Group, over 1,000 yards, but we did not have a receiver over 1,000. That's just so weird to me since we've been using air raid playbooks this entire time. Now, it looks like we could have gotten SMU in the 2nd round, but Utah took them down, so we're not going to get the storyline there. But I see Notre Dame as a potential semifinal matchup, and I really don't want to have to face them again. I still can't believe that with Clemson, we've been struggling this much to win a championship. I was really starting to question how I'd gotten that much worse at the game, but we've been handling Utah really well. Their man-to-man coverage still happens to lock us up every so often, but if we just roll out and we don't even force it to someone, we can always take it in. When we signed Bryce Underwood through the portal, I knew he was going to be a cheat code, but I also imagined he'd get multiple national championships. We're on our way to 1, but there's still 2 more opportunities to mess this up. And after missing out on SMU in the quarterfinals, we're missing out on Notre Dame in the semifinals, another storyline we're not getting. If you look at the Aggies' record, though, they went undefeated during SEC play, so they're obviously going to be pretty hard to beat. The only time they must have lost a game was in the SEC championship and against some non-conference opponent. Looks like they're going to have to add a 3rd loss to their resume, though, as we're in a good spot. I don't care that we just lost a ton of yardage there. We're still most likely going to be able to score down inside the red zone, running around like a lunatic and just throwing it to our tight end who comes back outside of it. It does not matter. We do not care. Texas A&M is not getting respect from us. 4th down. Well, if we're being smart about this and we want to play for a natty, all we have to do is kick. They weren't able to score again anyway. We just had to make sure they couldn't come back. And I feel like we're performing better versus teams in the playoffs than we were in the regular season. Now, I was expecting Ohio State to beat Nebraska, but they are the higher seed and they have clearly overcome any curse that program had. They have gotten back to a national championship game, but we cannot let the Cornhuskers ruin this season and our run. It would just be unacceptable if I failed a Clemson rebuild. I cannot have a failed Clemson rebuild on my resume. You see the score, though, in the 3rd quarter. We are currently trailing 17-0, so we've started to run even more with Bryce Underwood. Nebraska is in a very good position, but they typically lose in heartbreaking fashion. We were able to get into the end zone, then get the ball back, and most likely be able to score on this drive. But if we somehow mess this up, we're already headed into the 4th quarter. It looks like they might be expecting the run on 3rd down, but nobody's going to be able to get there quick enough. And it's been the wear and tear on some of our guys that have forced us to use backups. Warren Group only has 9 carries in this matchup. They've driven down to score a touchdown. And that really puts the pressure on us in this game. We have a 99 speed receiver that we just cannot use. The reason being is they are playing so smart against Armstrong. All I want to do is just chuck it up to him. But they have been backed off the entire game, and that looked like a big lane. Huge 3rd and 3 here. We're going to immediately roll out with Bryce Underwood, and although we could have thrown this one to our tight end, we decided not to. It's the same reason we haven't thrown it most of the time in this video. I've just seen too many inaccurate passes, and I refuse to lose off of it. His stats might be really good, but we would find a way to be unlucky. On 3rd down, we just got routed. They would continue to have success as well. That's the worst part, and I don't think we're catching them. It's looking like Nebraska's going to do it. Now, they missed an extra point, which is the reason that we're up by 9 right now instead of 10. We're escaping the pressure. I thought we stepped out. That would have been so bad. But I don't understand what happened there. It was called dead before it could have occurred. And is this even a throw Bryce Underwood is capable of making here? Well, it is 4th and 10. We have all the time in the world. There was definite PI. They were also trying to drop back to stop that exact route from happening. Let's just chuck it up. We got 96 throw power. We got 99 speed. Can we catch this? No. Reality has been setting in for a while. I mean, they're only sending 3, so our offensive line should be holding up for us to find Armstrong here. But do we think that route's going to work again, or do we think that they're going to adjust to it? It's open. It's wide open. He's in the end zone. I'm going to be honest, even though we don't need to do this, I want to go for the onside kick just in case we had a chance at recovering it. And we should be able to stop the run. Looks like they might have a jet touch pass going on here. Keep in mind, this is a 99 overall defense. And on 3rd and 6, we've sent a blitz. We got it in. There it is. They're punting it back to us with 35 seconds left on the clock. But you see where we're sitting at on the field. There's just no way. We got him. We might have him. We might actually have him. He dropped it. He dropped it into a pick. We had a field goal. We were in field goal range. Our 94 receiver, whatever he is, just dropped that into an interception. We would have won the Natty off of a sick play, but I have failed to rebuild with Clemson instead. Hang on. Did this get deflected? Because I'd feel a lot better. Okay, it looks like he got a hand on it. I thought he just dropped that ball and they picked it off. Either way, pretty brutal way for a rebuild to finish out. I was hoping I was going to be helpful to Clemson fans here, but instead, Nebraska broke the curse. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you put 27 players onto the NFL. If you have 11 first-round picks, you still are not guaranteed a national championship. And this one hurts. This one hurts a lot. I don't normally fail rebuilds, but I have failed the Clemson rebuild. Watch some of my other content, please.